the pressure who no book. If you don't have no education, people treat you like a book.
Hello everyone. Welcome back to another tutorial in this COVID-19 pandemic season. Today, we're going to be continuing our series of fractions, and we're going to do another lesson on equivalent fractions. Now, equivalent fractions is extremely important in understanding how to do addition and subtraction of fractions. So let's do a quick recap on equivalent fractions. Now, remember that equivalent fractions are fractions that are equal fractions, or we say value the same amount. For example, 1 out of 2 is the same thing as 2 out of 4. So those are equivalent fractions. Now, we're going to be using equivalent fractions to order fractions. What I want you to take as your prerequisite in this lesson is knowing your times tables. So your times tables is extremely important as we go along in fractions. So let's go at looking at our first question. Here I have 3 fractions: 5 out of 6, 7 out of 9, 2 out of 3. And I'm asked to order these in order of size, smallest to largest. So I want to order this smallest to largest. Now I want you to stop this video, have a look at it, and see if you can do it on your own. Okay, let's continue. 5 out of 6. This means that this is cut up into 6 parts and I've taken out 5. This is cut up into 9 parts and I've taken out 7. This is cut up into 3 parts and I've taken out 2. Now I need to see which one of them is bigger. If I take 5 out of 6, is it bigger than if I take 7 out of 9? Or is it bigger than if I take 2 out of 3? As we said before in our previous lesson, it's hard to tell at the moment looking at it, because this is shared out of 6, this is shared out of 9, and this is shared out of 3. So it's hard at the moment to look to see how we're going to tell which is bigger. So then we have to resort to doing equivalent fractions. So I'm going to change this, and I'm going to get a denominator that all of them are the same. If all of them are the same, then it's easier for me to identify, or for us to identify which is smaller and which is bigger. So we are going to be using our lowest common multiple. Remember what we said? You use the biggest denominator. So you have a denominator of 6, a denominator of 9, and a denominator of 3. We are going to choose to use the biggest denominator, which is 9. So we're going to be searching the 9 times table. So in this case, I'm going to write them down. And the ones that comes after, I'm not going to write them down. I'm going to just talk about them. So we're going to search the 9 times table. The first number in the 9 times table is 9. Nine is in the 9 times table. 9 is in the 3 times table, but 9 is not in the 6 times table. So I cannot use 9. 18. 18 is in the 9 times table, it's in the 6 times table, and it's in the 3 times table. So here I can use 18. 18 is what we call our lowest common multiple. So 18 is our lowest common multiple. So now I'm going to change this to 18. So now I'm going to imagine that instead of cutting up the cake that was cut into 6 parts, I'm now going to cut it up further to make 18 parts. The cake that was cut into 9 parts, I'm now going to cut up it smaller so I can get 18 parts. And the cake that was cut up into 3 parts, I'm going to cut it up further to get 18 parts. So all of these cakes are now going to have 18 parts. So again, this means that I'm going to cut up this cake some more. Instead of it having 6 parts, it's going to have 18 parts. I'm going to cut up this cake some more. Instead of it having 9 parts, it's now going to have 18 parts. And I'm going to cut up this cake some more. Instead of it having 3 parts, it's going to have 18 parts. Now, how many 6 can I get out of 18? Is 3. So I can get 3 sets of 6. So what do I do from 6 to get to 18? I times it by 3. So I'm going to times the top by 3 as well. 3 times 5 is 15. So here I have 5 out of 6 is the same thing as 15 out of 18. I'm going to come out of here, over here. What do I do from 9 to get to 18? I times by 2. Whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 7 times 2 is 14. So 7 out of 9 is the same thing as 14 out of 18. Let's come to this one. What do I do from 3 to get to 18? I times by 6. So I have to times the top by 6 as well. 6 times 2 is 12. Now I can answer my question because I've now cut up this further so that they have the same number of pieces. So 5 out of 6 is the same thing as 15 out of 18. 7 out of 9 is the same thing as 14 out of 18. And 2 out of 3 is the same thing as 12 out of 18. Now I will be able to compare them smallest to largest using these new fractions. So let's just put them in order, smallest to largest. Here we have 15 out of 18, 14 out of 18, and 12 out of 18. Now 12 out of 18 is the smallest. But remember, we were just using this to guide us. Our ant question was there. So that means our smallest one is 2 out of 3. Now I have 14 out of 18 and 15 out of 18. The next one is 14 out of 18. But remember, we only use this to guide us, because I was asked about this. So the next one is 7 out of 9. And the last one there is 5 out of 6. So here we've used equivalent fractions to order fractions. If we now look at the fractions, 4 out of 5, 7 out of 8, and 3 out of 4, and let's now put these in order, smallest to largest. They have different denominators. So the first thing we've got to do is to make them all have the same denominator. So which times tables are we going to use? We're going to be using our A times table. We're going to be using the one that's the biggest of the denominators. So we're going to be using our A times table. So now let's talk about our A times table. The first number in our A times table is 8. It's in the A times table, it's in the 4 times table, but it's not in the A times table. Next one is going to be 16. 16 is in the 8 times table, 4 times table, but it's not in the 5 times table. Next one is going to be 24. 24 is in the 8 times table, 4 times table, but it's not in the 5 times table. Next one is going to be 32. 32 is in the 8 times table, the 4 times table, but it's not in the 5 times table. The next one is going to be 40. 40 is in the 8 times table, the 4 times table, and the 5 times table. So now I'm going to change them to 40. Now, because they all have something in common, I can use that to compare. 5 times 8 gives 40. So if I times the bottom by 8, I have to times the top by 8 as well. So that's 32. 8 times 5 is 40. So if I times the bottom by 5, I have to times the top by 5 as well. So that's 35. 4 times 10 is 40. So if I times the bottom by 10, I have to times the top by 10 as well. So that's going to give us 30. Now we can look at that and we can tell, we can put these in order. So the smallest one is 30 out of 40, which is 3 out of 4. So 3 out of 4 is the smallest fraction. Here, the next one is going to be 32 out of 40. And 32 out of 40 was 4 out of 5. So our next one is going to be 4 out of 5. And the last one, putting in order, is 35 out of 40, which matches 7 out of 8. Let's look at another fraction. Here again, we need to put these in order, smallest to largest. Which times table are we going to be checking out? We're going to be checking out our 8 times table because it is the biggest denominator. The first number that we see in our 8 times table, and we also see it in our 3 times table, is going to be, and our 6 times table as well, is going to be 24. So the first number that I see in my 8 times table, and it also comes in my 6 times table, and it also comes in my 3 times table, is 24. So now I can compare them because they have something in common. What do I do to 3 to get to 24? Times it by 8. So I times that by 8 as well. That gives us 16. What do I do from 6 to get to 24? Times that by 4. So I times that by 4 as well. So that gives us 20. What do I do from 8 to get to 24? Times that by 3. So I times that by 3 as well. So that gives us 15. Now we can compare which is the smaller to the bigger. Here I have 16 over 24, 20 out of 24, and 15 out of 24. Remember, we were asked to order 2 over 3, 5 over 6, and 5 over 8. So that's what we're going to be coming back to. The smallest one here is 15 out of 24, and that matches 5 over 8. So 5 over 8 is going to be your answer. Next one matches 16 over 24 is the next one that comes in order, and that matches 2 out of 3. So next one is going to be 2 out of 3. The next one matches 20 over 24, and that's 5 out of 6. So our answer there is going to be 5 out of 6. Here I have another set of fractions, 23 over 30, 3 over 4, and 11 out of 15. Now I'm going to leave you to do that one on your own. Remember, you need to find a number that is in the 30 times table, the 4 times table, and the 15 times table. So what you do, you start with 30 and keep going in the 30 times table, each time checking. So 30 can go into 30, 4 cannot go into 30 without leaving a remainder, so we can't use 30. So I want you to continue. When you find that number, that is going to be what your bottom number will be here. Whatever you times the 30 by to get to that, you do the same thing to the top. Whatever you times the 4 by to the number to get to the number that you have found here, you do the same thing here. That will be your number here. Here, same thing here. Whatever number you times 15 by to get to the number that you have there, the same thing you times the 11 by. When you're finished and you check, you will know that you're correct if you get them in the order 11 out of 15, 3 out of 4, and 23 out of 30. So I'm going to leave you to try that one on your own. Hopefully you understand that. Thank you very much.
If you not have no education, people treat you like a